Hello, this is Bradley J with my good friend Craig Fitzgerald, and we're going to talk about automotive scams. Thank you for being on the Bradley J Show, Craig. I'm
You
gonna
got it, Bradley.
I'm gonna outline what happened to me and was the instigation for this topic. Recently got a car. I would say maybe August,
Yep.
and then got this thing in the mail the other day, a card, one of those kind of like a cardboard thing. It says final notice. Call, and they give a number, an 888 number, within 5 business days. It says, our records indicate you have not contacted us to update the factory warranty on your car. In order to guarantee its continued safe operation, call this number. By neglecting to call now, you will be responsible for paying all repairs out of pocket. That is the key misleading line for me. Then it shows this picture of our car with all kinds of little items around it that says turbocharger 2500, engine 6200, all the stuff that can go wrong, and in bright, and there's a lot of bright, comes in final notice, bright red letters. And so my automatic thought was, by the way they worded it, oh my God, was something we neglected to do, and so our if we don't act in 5 days, our factory warranty, our warranty will not have kicked in, and we will be without a warranty. Oh my God! And I showed my spouse; she thought the same thing. Oh my God! What did we
What
do?
are we going to do?
Which is always a red flag when you see anything in the mail. That's what are we going to do? Assume it's a
Yeah.
hoax and make
Yeah.
and until you prove otherwise. That's what you have to do
Yeah.
these days. So I contacted my trusty friend, automotive whiz kid and guitar maven Craig Fitzgerald,
That's me.
just and said and asked him, dude, this. And then it said there was one word that made me go, oh, wait a minute, and that was the fact they wanted me to buy insurance, or no, buy a policy. I think.
Yeah.
I say, wait a minute, policy? Is that what the word was? Oh yeah, all policies. It says come with 24-hour road assistance.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're trying to sell me something. That was it,
Correct.
and that was red light that said, oh wait, this sounds phony. And so I wondered if this was a common thing. So I called Craig. He goes, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is big business. This is a big thing.
Yep.
And we'll talk about the background of that. And also, though, Craig says in some cases you may want to buy an extended warranty. And I'm
Right.
sure they come in different shapes and sizes, and we can talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that I just called you up and said, Greg, what's the deal with this? Are we screwed?
Yeah.
What's the deal?
So what you got in the mail was a pitch from some third party that wants you to buy an extended warranty. They call it a policy, they call it an extended warranty. What it is basically they're asking you to buy insurance. It's almost like a health plan. You lay out whatever it is, $1,000 a year or whatever, and we will cover you for a certain period of time, and you can get these things fixed for next to nothing or a reduced rate. But that's what it is. This is a pitch from an extended warranty company, and they get more and more aggressive, and they get more and more official looking all the time. So I'll tell you, you and I talked about this. My mom was 85 or something at the time. We leased her a Volkswagen Beetle. And a couple of months later, she gets this thing in the mail and she calls me. She's in a panic. Oh my God, I have to pay this bill. This is a demand notice. It's in red. It says urgent. So I drove over to the house and I looked at it. It was like, this is a pitch for an extended warranty. And it looked like it was official because it came from something called the Department of Automobile Records, which is non-existent. There is no Department of Automobile Records. So what I did was I did pretty much what you did was look, read every word in this thing and see if I can figure out where it's coming from. And where it came from was a registered reseller of extended warranty policies. So I'll tell you exactly how you got this. Your car dealer sells your information. They'll sell it to anybody, and they'll sell it to people who run these extended warranty companies. And then those people are going to pitch you like crazy. They're going to call you on the phone. I would expect phone calls from now until the end of time that you need to get a warranty. My mom, who now has not owned that car for 4 years, is still getting extended warranty calls for that car.
I guess the Department of Automobile Records is not very accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. Exactly correct. So this is something that happens all the time. People will get mail that, I mean, people who are older than me, maybe older than you, there's this ingrained thing where they have to answer every phone call. They have to open the mail and look at it and read it as if it's an official document. And that's how a lot of people get taken advantage of on these things. I'm not saying an extended warranty is necessarily a bad thing. Like you said, there are times when we can talk about that, but there are times when you might want to have one. But the marketing on this, the FCC, like their quote was, if you own a car and a telephone, you are ripe for an extended warranty scam. That's what the FCC said about these things. They are pervasive. And the interesting thing is a lot of these companies, they're big companies like Endurance, for example. Endurance extended warranty, whatever they're called, they're the one that's marketed on television at all times. Danica Patrick is their spokesperson. They are aggressive, and they're aggressively funded by, companies like Golden State Capital, big venture capital companies, because they see how much money is available in this, because it's just an insurance plan. You're basically just betting against your car that it's going to fail at some point in your ownership, and you want somebody else to help you pay for it.
Okay, so if you get this thing in the mail, people, read it carefully and don't freak out. And remember, any scam is going to try to freak you out. If you feel yourself freaked out, stop and go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This could be a scam.
Absolutely. And the other thing is too, you gotta kind of look at where the mail is coming from too. People don't do this. They look at like all mail as if it's created equal. Well, some guy hand wrote this and he put my name on it and he signed his name at the bottom. He didn't do any of that. Like that's all, that's a good printer that allows it to look like that. But when you get an envelope and it says pre-sorted in the corner instead of having a stamp on it, that's a pitch. That's an advertising pitch. Like just literally, I throw that mail away. I don't even look at it.
Pre-sorted. So that's a giveaway too.
If it's that important, then I'm going to get a registered letter at some point or another, right? If I'm not in compliance for something, or so just to back up a little bit, you bought a used car and you got the balance of the factory warranty on that. Now, if I remember correctly, you bought a Kia, correct?
No, Mazda.
Oh, Mazda. I'm sorry. So
2023.
Whatever the balance of the original warranty was, that automatically transfers to you when you take ownership of the car. So whatever you're protected by the original factory warranty, you're automatically protected by that because you bought it from a dealer. They did all the paperwork and you're covered. They honestly, the manufacturer doesn't even care. They look at the thing and they say, how many miles are on it? And how many, what year is it? Okay, it's covered and we're just going to cover that. So, and then you had the opportunity at the dealer to purchase an extended warranty.
Right.
And it may well have been with the same company. It may have been with Endurance. It may have extended warranty, quote unquote, is not really a warranty at all. It's an insurance plan. It's a policy. And so they may have pitched you, one of three different, extended warranties, and you said no, and you moved on, and you thought it was all over. But man, these people are aggressive about getting a hold of you. They really are.
Speaking of the purchasing experience, I'm guessing this is pretty standard. Salesperson's all nice. Then you get to the financial person. They make you talk to him, which is ridiculous, because he doesn't do anything that the salesperson couldn't do. But
Yep.
he's just a hard ass.
Yep.
Because they want you to buy the car from the nice guy, and once that happens, they either just before he's kind of the closer. He's a hard ass there to scare you and make you feel bad. And it was exactly that guy, and he was irritating, and he
Yep.
preyed. The minute I left the room, he started preying on Shannon, a female, and I came back and it's in the middle of something, asking all these questions, and
Yep.
I'm like, shut him down. It's like that is disgusting.
Yeah.
And
Well, and what happens with extended warranties, and that, so he's known as the F&I guy, right? He's the finance and insurance guy. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to sell you a loan. He's trying to sell you insurance. He's trying to sell you floor mats. He's trying to sell you paint treatment, right? And like, it's everything that they can layer on top of the car is pure profit for them. Like, if with a, and I get it. Sometimes your dealer can get you a better deal on a loan than your bank can. Great, let them do it, and I hope they get the money for it. They deserve the money for selling that loan. Same with a warranty. If they're good enough and they've talked you into it, then you bought the loan, you bought the warranty, and hopefully.
Do they deserve it if they use scare tactics and freak you out?
Look, it's 2024. I would hope that when people get in that hot little room, they understand what they're being sold.
No, I don't think that. I don't think so. You're in the biz. You buy cars all the time. Other people don't.
Yeah, and it is true that maybe people don't understand what that process is, but that's a good thing to talk about too. You buy the car from the sales guy, and he may or may not be great, but then you are not going to leave that dealership until you sat in the room with the F&I guy. And it's up to you to at that point to resist, like, as much as you've ever resisted anything, all of the things that they're trying to pitch to you. I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm not saying they're all, like they're scams. They're not. They're a product that they're trying to sell you. And there are cases where, look, if I bought a Fiat, I would probably buy an extended warranty on it.
Right.
If I bought one of the cars that had the lowest consumer satisfaction, a Jeep, for example, a Jeep Wrangler, I would probably buy an extended warranty on it. It's a few grand. It's added protection after the factory warranty ends. I think vehicles like Hyundai and Kia that have 10-year, powertrain warranties, it maybe is less important to think about,
right?
Those things. They're pretty reliable. I mean, that's like, I buy cars. I'm interested in things like design, performance. Most people don't care. Most people want a safe, reliable car. They figured out the safety part. It's the reliability that everybody has questions about, and they want to protect themselves. So your normal factory warranty usually ends up being about 3 years, 36,000 miles. Some are 448, some are 560, and then Kia and Hyundai are in the 10-year range. What that says to you is that cars have gotten more reliable over the years. You need to bet less against your car than you did in the 1980s, for example. So the extended warranty business, they've had to get a little bit more aggressive to sell these things. And that's exactly what you're seeing now.
One question. When you sit down and sign the papers at some point, there's got to be a thing in there that gives them permission to sell your information. Right?
So,
and how is it possible? My question is it possible to say, I want you to remove whatever language in there that says you get to sell my information before I sign this?
I don't know. So I really don't know if you can or not. So I don't know what the rules around opt-in are. Very much for online things. So, when you're online, you're at the point now where, the FTC has said you have to opt into emails, not opt out, right? So what they used to do was you automatically were enrolled,
All right.
you had to opt out. Now that has changed. So anybody who's, trying to get your email address, you have to opt into those things. And now the other thing is the FTC has made online unsubscribe. It has to be as easy as subscribing. So it's a one button unsubscribe now. So all of this effort has gone into online. I don't know what happens when you're sitting at a dealership. So I'll give you a good example. I had a friend of mine who he got a notice from his insurance company, which was, I can't remember, it was State Farm. I'm pretty sure it was. He got a notice from his insurance company that he was over his, what the low mileage policy is. So usually a low mileage policy is pretty cheap. If you're, driving less than 5,000 miles a year, your insurance company will issue you a policy for less money. So they send him a notice that says you're no longer eligible for low mileage. And he was like, how did they find out I was?
Yeah. How did they find out?
Right. So he was like, he lives in a state that has no state inspection. Like nobody has ever asked him what his mileage is. What it turned out was he went to a Jiffy Lube, got his oil changed, and that Jiffy Lube sold his information to his insurance company.
Oh, scum.
And I said to him, is there any, was there anything that you signed or checked or whatever? He said, I swear I didn't. And then I said, go back into that Jiffy Lube. And it may not have been a Jiffy Lube. It may have been a, Quaker State or whatever it was. But I was like, go back in there and look around that waiting room and see if there's anything posted on the wall that says, by doing business with us, you authorize that we can sell your information. And he was like, I looked everywhere. I didn't see anything.
Even so a poster is not going to cut it. There's no guarantee you saw a poster. I can't imagine that would fly in court. Oh, we had it posted. That doesn't, right. I didn't sign the poster.
Right. So, but there are all kinds of different rules. And the Mass State Dealers Association, they are on the ball with exactly what they can do in a showroom. And they're on the ball with what they can do after the sale. So if your name got sold somewhere, either you checked something or they can
probably in the fine print when you buy the car. Right. When you say, okay, you do have to sign something.
Yep.
And it's probably the junk in there. And it seems like.
So the other way that people can get this information is when you register the car. So is the state selling your information? That's the other question. I don't know if they somehow bought registration data from somewhere. Like that's how Carfax does what they do. They buy massive tranches of information when people get in accidents, but it's not to the person, it's to the car, right? So they know when a car hits a certain mileage. They know when a car gets in an accident and it's reported, not the person who owns the car necessarily. Because when you have a Carfax thing, you never see the person's name. You only see the dealer that it was purchased from, the state it was registered in, and if it was ever in an accident or recalled or whatever. So there's all kinds of ways that people will get your information, not necessarily 100% that it came from the dealer, but that's a way you can, you can have your information sent to somebody like this, and then registering the car is another way.
So you're saying there's no hope of avoiding these letters?
No, you got it. There's no hope of it.
You get it. You got to catch it on the back end.
Yep. There's no hope of avoiding the phone calls, which are probably coming if you gave them a cell phone number. So be aware of that. I block as many of those numbers as I can for my mom, but she's still getting them regardless.
So what the guy was doing when I came back in and Shannon was answering these seemingly unrelated questions, what he was doing was gathering information to sell.
Yeah. Yep.
Man.
So it's like, at that point, again, I think the main thing when people go to buy a car, now that the safety thing has kind of like all cars are safe. They're they're pretty good now. It's the reliability that people are most worried about, and it's very costly. So, the numbers that they quoted on that pitch that you got, 2,500 for a turbocharger, that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
To replace one in that car, and it's a scare tactic. Like, hey, you just bought this car. Here's what you're in for, and I think, but what. And I don't even have a problem with, them sending you a solicitation that says, hey, we know you just bought a car. Do you want to protect yourself after your factory warranty runs out? Here's the kind of costs that you're going to run into. Here's why you should buy this thing. I have no problem with that.
But this card made no mention of after your warranty runs out.
Right. And it looks like it's an official document, right? So this was an interesting thing. I wrote this story in 2016 about this when my mom got that letter from the Department of Automobile Records or whatever it was called. And what I found out was that there was a nonprofit trade group called the Vehicle Protection Association that was a trade organization for companies that sell and administer these vehicle service contracts, they're called. And they actually published standards of conduct for companies that were part of this organization. And the top thing is marketers shall not conduct business under any deceptive or misleading DBA names, use a DBA name that's registered to another business, or anything that's kind of similar to another agency or business. So those kind of tactics where they make things look official, they make it sound like it's coming from someplace official, like those were against their own code of ethics. And then what happened was this Vehicle Protection Association dissolved because none of the companies that were part of the association would live up to the standards that they set up. Like they all use deceptive practices to do this stuff in one way or another. Now, what they might do is like an Endurance or whoever is out, Smart Car Shield or whoever else is out there selling these things. They will contract a sales agency to, take their product and then pitch it as hard as they can, right? So that gives them a little distance from the really nasty part of this business, which is let's try to fool everybody that this is an official letter.
One thing about insurance.
When you called me, when you sent me you sent me an image of the card that you got. You sent me one side, and I don't know if there was something on the other side that identified who it was coming from. Did it say?
I should have saved it. I just shredded it the other day.
Yeah. It's good to, usually what you'll see is in super fine print, they'll say something like, this is coming from, whoever it is. And in my case, it was Endurance Vehicle Services, which was like this sub company of Endurance, the insurance company. And then they were, engaged in selling the actual warranty.
So one problem I have with insurance, the warranty insurance, is I don't really trust them because, who knows what kind of limitations and caveats and exceptions they stick in there. So they say, we protect your turbo, except this and that, and only for 2 years, and unless you were ever drove on a dirt road.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. And so when it breaks and you have to deal, if you have insurance, you have to deal with the repair person. And then you may have to fight the insurance company.
Right. So I'm wearing my Car Talk shirt. And when I was doing stuff for Car Talk, one of the things that they had asked me to do was to provide some information on extended warranty companies. And I read everybody's contract. I read every one of them. And they're all pretty close. They're all, each one of these things, if you buy an extended warranty, has a contract on the back that explains exactly what they will and will not cover. So you need to read those things you need to spend a week reading those. You can't sign them in the dealership. You can't. You have to say, look, I may buy it from you. I may buy it from, directly from Endurance, but I'm not buying it from anybody unless I get a chance to read the contract. And that's where you're going to find out that they don't cover, like there was one of them, I can't remember. I think Endurance. I can't remember which one it was. I don't want to say, but one of them wouldn't cover a Corvette. Like they wouldn't cover certain cars at all. They'll still sell you the policy, but they won't cover anything on the car.
How can that be? How can they sell you a policy on a car they don't cover?
They're not supposed to, right? So, they're not supposed to. When you get to the point where you're actually signing up for this thing, it should kick you out of the system because you're trying to buy it for a Corvette. But it says specifically in the contract, like, we will not cover these kind of cars. They won't cover cars that have been raced. They won't cover cars that have been modified in any way. So, like, you really need to understand what you're signing when you're buying one of these policies.
Modified in any way? How nuanced does that get? Like if you change your floor mats, or
I don't know. Like if you put a K&N air filter in something, is that a modification? Like it's not a factory part. Like
see, I don't trust them. So
right.
For me, it would never make sense.
Right.
So I would not buy the Aston Martin and not buy whatever it was. No, what was the car you? The what? The Fiat.
Yeah,
I would not buy the Fiat.
I would buy it on the Aston too, actually.
Or the MG. I just wouldn't buy the MG.
Yeah. It's it's funny. It's like when you're in the dealership, your focus is on the car. Like, oh well, I'm gonna get raked over the coals here, and like I'm gonna do all my research on the price of the car and the finance rate and my trade-in and all of this kind of stuff. And you're loaded for bear on the car. And it's like that process goes so easy. It's like, yeah, okay, great. Within reason, we'll make this deal. Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Great. Yeah. But that's really where it starts.
The S starts to hit the fan.
Yeah. That's it.
One thing that is a good hint, and probably everybody knows this, but make sure if you're going to trade in, check with various people and get a printed out, Carvana or thing that they'll give to you and take it with you, because we did that and they offered X and we said, well, they offered us Y.
Yep.
And he came back and split the difference, which is not great, but it's true. The place might not have given us that full amount and it would have been a hassle. So it was kind of a good way to split the difference and be done with it.
So I've had people who have sold cars to CarMax and to Carvana and through the Car Gurus program, which is very similar, and they've had good experiences. Unless they basically will give you a quote. They want to inspect the car, but it's a cursory inspection. It's like you turn to lease in. They'll look it over. Like, all right, well, there's cigarette burn holes in the passenger seat, then they're going to give you less money for it. But in general, if the car is as you have represented it, they will give you the money. And it's a great thing to do, but you have to know that those offers are only good for like 24 hours. Uh-huh. So they do, and they know that you're going to take that offer and go right to the dealer and see what he'll offer you. For me, It's not worth the hassle. Like I'd take the offer.
And there's can you give me a real quick answer on this one? How do these companies avoid do not call rules?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
That is quick. Very good.
I don't know.
Okay. So while we're here talking about scams, I'd be crazy not to tell you folks about a couple of scams that I recently heard about. One happened to my friend, and I'll be quick. And Craig, if you have any other scams, automotive or not, you want to share, fine. And if anybody after the fact, after this is not live anymore and you see this, stick them in the comments. Beware this one. And some of you are going to say, well, how could that person be that dumb? Maybe, but listen anyway. A friend of mine talked about his significant other had an incident where she went to an ATM, was walking away, and some guy comes up and says, Miss, wait, here's the $10. You left it in the ATM. Guy gives her the $10. And he goes, oh, and you left your account open. You didn't do it right. Your account's still open.
Close it out, yeah. Huh.
So you got to go, hold on. You got to go close it out. So she's like, what do you mean? Look, I'll show you. Because he brought the $10, establishing trust.
Yeah.
Goes back to the ATM. Here's what you have to do. And foolishly, he's like, she gave him his card. He says, give me your card. I'll show you. He sticks it in. Da, 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 da. And closes it out. A few hours later, she sees that $12,000 is gone. $12,000.
Yep.
So they freaked out, and because she actually called the news, and the news did a story, and then another news group got it, and so there were two news stories locally.
Yep.
Anyway, what had happened was this guy was kind of a sleight of hand. I don't know what else he did, but he put hers in and handed another one back.
Interesting. So
he was able to, like a magician, whoosh, flipped it. And bad part number two is that people probably don't know this, even though this is as I understand it, don't hold me to it, but even though you have a limit of withdrawal from an ATM, how they withdraw $12,000 if there's a limit of $500 you put on it. They go in the bank.
Yeah. With
your card.
Yep.
And I guess the bank did not check ID or whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
They went and got the money out of the bank by going into 3 different banks, $4,000 each.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to everyone to ask your bank about that. And just know that if anything weird at all is happening and you go like, really? $10? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's like, just if anyone is talking to you at all about your ATM card, walk away.
Yep.
And,
I've had our bank account scammed 4 times, probably in the last 6 years.
And they took money?
6 or 8 years.
They got money out?
Yeah. So what happens is if you use your ATM card at a gas pump.
Right.
That's where a lot of fraud happens.
That's right. And that's why I pay. You might have told me that. And that's why I do the hassle-y thing and pay cash.
Yeah. You got to pay cash, or you got to be very careful about, or you got to go inside the store. Like the chances of it happening at the store are a lot less.
You mean pay with the card in the store?
Inside, yeah.
So how do you do that if you want to fill up? You can't really, right?
So what you do is you walk inside the store and you say, I want to fill it on pump whatever, and they'll ring it up for 100 or whatever it is, and then essentially reimburse you the balance of
even with a card.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they charge your card and then they credit your card back?
If they charge it or they just put a hold on it for a minute. So that's the other thing with like using an ATM card versus a credit card is that, when you swipe your card at the pump and you choose debit, that's a $500 hold on your card. Versus if you use a credit card, there's no hold on it. So it's like you need to be aware of that, number one. And number two, there are all kinds of false readers that you would never be able to detect.
Readers.
What's happening is you stick your card in the machine and it's basically reading it before it ever gets into the machine. And then they're making fraudulent charges after that. So that's happened to me a bunch. And my bank, Direct Federal Credit Union in Needham, Massachusetts, has been on the ball with this stuff. We get a call instantly when it starts happening, because what'll happen is they'll run a low dollar amount through, and if that goes through, they go hog wild, and now they're doing $300 here, $500 there, and pretty quickly it mounts up to thousands and thousands of dollars. So,
how much was that? How much did they?
It was like $1,500 each time. So and it's all purchases. So what happens is then the bank denies all of those charges because it happens so quickly, and you get all the money back essentially. But fraud costs, like automotive fraud, is insane. Like how much it happens. like I'll give you another example. One of the things that's going on right now is dealerships trying to manage fraud within their own building, which is every time you go for a test drive, you give somebody a license.
Yeah.
Who knows what happens to that driver's license? Like, what are they doing with it? Are they just photocopying it? Like, what do they do with it afterwards? Do they, like, are they shredding it? Do they send it to, their buddy down the street who's running a credit card scam thing? Are they opening credit cards in your name? You have no idea. So what the most recent statistic I saw was something like 60% of the fraud that happens at a dealership happens because people are turning their license over. That's insane. That's
those
insane.
Scumbags. Okay.
I didn't say that.
One
I
thing.
didn't say that.
One thing that's helpful is I have my credit reporting accounts frozen. All three of the major ones frozen. So you can't open a credit card. There's that.
Right.
So can you go back to the difference between using I want to clarify something. Using a credit or debit at the pump. Debit puts a $500 hold on it. Credit doesn't. Is that so? Which is better?
I prefer to use the not hold one. You know, so it's the same card, right? Your debit card has a MasterCard symbol on it or whatever. You stick it in the machine and it gives you the option, credit or debit. I always do the credit.
Oh, I have two separate cards. I don't know if that's normal. I have a credit card.
You have a your debit card doesn't have a credit card symbol on it.
Yeah, maybe I never use it. I got two cards, and if I try to use, if I try to use the debit card as credit card, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Okay, so you have just a solely an ATM card.
I have, right.
Most people have both, right? So they have it's one. My debit card has a MasterCard symbol on it, and I can use it as either.
Interesting. I never buy anything with a debit card ever because I want to keep that out of once anything's gone off the debit card, it's gone. Whereas credit, you're on the hook for it, but the money's not gone yet for like a month or whatever.
So here's my thought on that. Number one is I don't trust myself making credit card purchases because I won't pay for them. And, I don't want to carry big balances on stuff, I want to avoid that.
For me, if I can't afford to buy it, I don't buy it.
Right.
If I can't afford
buying it in cash. You're buying it in cash.
I pay the thing off. Yeah.
Every month. Yeah. Right. So, but I also, because I do business with that bank, that credit union that's exceptional with this stuff, I don't feel like I'm arguing with MasterCard about a purchase. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if there's a fraudulent purchase on your MasterCard, you got to now call up MasterCard and then fight it out with them about whether or not this purchase is fraudulent, right? When I called Direct Federal Credit Union, I talked to Mary, who works at the desk over there, and I explained to her what happens, and she advocates for me basically. So that it's kind of a different, like, I'm not a Bank of America person at all. Like, good luck if you're trying to argue with them about a fraudulent purchase. I tend to use smaller banks because of that, because they tend to advocate for you a little bit.
Wow. Okay. And there's one other scam that's just fun to know about. It's probably not going to affect you because it only works in countries that have updated their currency. If you go traveling, for example, the Czech Republic updated their currency, and the old currency was obsolete and expired, and hope to go there soon. So I was watching a bunch of videos, and one pops up on scams. It's this kid that goes around. He knows all the scammers. He this is what he does. So he sees all the scammers. He grabs them by the collar and calls the police, which you could never do in the United States. You get sued. But he holds them right there with his phone, and it's like, yells at them and argues with them, and the cops come. But anyway, so he's going through the different things. And in the Czech Republic, by ticket machines, like at the pub for public transportation or trains stuff, they have orange vest on, and they say they're working with the transportation department, and they say they help them get a ticket.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, by the way, I can change money for you. We have the best rates and no charge or anything. And you say, oh, all right. And you give them your $300. And they give you back Czech money that's expired.
Give you the old money.
Yeah. Oh man, I get all bummed out talking about how everywhere, everything, all the time, everywhere is trying to get you and take your money and clean your bank account out. Yep. No humanity. It's just god awful.
No, it's just theft, and it's the worst. And it's like a going business, like this. It's insane how much credit card fraud there is, how much automotive fraud there is. Like the person who cuts you off in traffic in front of you and slams the brake on, and there's 6 people in the car and they all have a neck injury now. Like that's a regular kind of a scam that happens all the time, that has really become visible now, that a lot of people are driving around with video cameras running all the time.
Yeah, like, by the way, do you recommend a video camera? We got one. We haven't installed it yet. Why not? If you're driving,
why not? Now I'm at the point where I just don't. It's not like I'm commuting into Boston every day. I think if I was again, I would be doing that. I would have one of those things, because things happen all the time.
And they're happening more now because, check this out. That I don't see any traffic enforcement. Do you?
No.
Hardly any.
No.
And my community,
when was the last time on the highway? I saw a cop on Friday coming up to Maine. I saw one on the Maine Turnpike. They basically are not doing any kind of enforcement while traffic is moving.
For one reason is some police departments are not operating at full staff. I know one department down 25%. And the other reason is it's possible, due to the potential for lawsuits for profiling, that they're hesitant to pull people over.
Right.
As a result, and everyone knows that on the highway now, and it's just awful.
Yep. It's getting pretty bad. It's getting pretty bad. Like there isn't that. And, on the one hand, like, I don't like there was a town in Vermont. Can't remember. It wasn't Dorset. It was one town north of Dorset. And there was a guy that they contracted with who had a Firebird with a bubble light on the roof. And if you came through that town going 5 miles over the speed limit, you were getting a ticket for the full, like, he was going to write you up no matter what. And that guy was legendary. And I got a ticket from him. Like, that to me is scam-like. To pay a contractor to sit out there and write people up for 5 miles an hour over, that's a scam like no other, right?
That's what you hear about in these weird western little towns.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're in a heap of trouble, boy.
That's exactly what it was. I mean, and there was no question that you were getting a ticket. Like, you weren't getting out of it. And everybody knew it, so, and it was it was like a trope, it was like, speed limit goes from 50 to 30 and you barely even notice it. And there he is right there. He's going to bust you before you even get into town. It was the worst. And to me, that was a scam. And they actually, if I remember correctly, he got taken to court. The town got taken to court for it because it was, such a sort of entrapment kind of thing. So like that, I find very negative, but I also find the lack of enforcement on anything. Like, have you ever seen anybody get pulled over for doing 55 miles an hour in the fast lane? I've never seen it in my life. Like, people shouldn't be there. They're not supposed to be traveling there. They're holding up traffic behind them. I've never seen anybody get pulled over for that. They're supposed to enforce that, but they don't.
While we're complaining, you know what I see all the time? Maybe 50. I see all the time. This motor scooters gas-powered motor scooters using bike lanes
Yeah.
and blowing through red lights. They'll be in the traffic, then they'll go in the bike lane at a red light, blow through the red light, in the bike lane, either going the right way or the wrong way. And that makes me so livid. I hate it. I'm one of those people that obeys the law. I'm one of the stupid few suckers who's a law obeyer. And and here I am doing, obeying the law. And these guys just completely ignore the law, and I hate it.
We're on the verge of electric bikes either being outlawed or being required to be registered, because I love them. I think they're great. And I considered buying one, an electric scooter. But they're so pervasive now. They're everywhere. They're cheap. They give them to kids. I see kids riding around 12, 13 years old on them with no helmets, and they're just darting in and out of traffic with them. People are going to get killed.
They go 28 miles an hour.
They're on the bike lanes with them. They're in the bike paths. They're on rail trails with them.
I would love to see that. Yeah. I know that it's politically a problem to say I want all bikes registered. Okay, let me just go ahead and ask you this. I'm guessing, since you're a car guy and you drive a lot, you don't want automated traffic enforcement, right?
I don't
Because
know.
I'm a law obeyer. I do not fear automated traffic enforcement, and here's the case for it.
Yeah.
Maybe a highly trained police officer doesn't need to be checking traffic stops. Especially if it costs the town a lot of money. The town could save scads of money on police overtime.
Right.
And
that's the argument. That's the argument now.
And you could never accuse the automated enforcement of profiling.
Yep.
So
I get it. I do get it. And I get both sides of the argument. And the other side is these things are dialed up to the point where if you are, over the stop line with the nose of the car, you're going to get, whether you stopped or not, you're getting written up for that. Or, you're getting written up for yellow lights, which happened in Philadelphia. Like that happened across the board. People were getting tickets like crazy in Philadelphia who were going through, they got halfway through a light and it turned yellow and they were getting tickets. So there has to be.
You shouldn't get a ticket on a yellow light.
You should, right? But what happened was, as soon as they put them in, it was like, let's just, whatever dial we need to turn up, let's turn it up to maximum enforcement. And people were getting tickets that shouldn't have been.
Well, but you don't give tickets for a yellow light.
Right. But here's the issue in Massachusetts is if you want to go to court for that, it's going to cost you. You have to pay to go to court.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing. Like, you want to talk about scams. Like, that to me is the scam, which is you've written somebody a ticket. The whole innocent until proven guilty thing goes out the window because you now have to pay the court fees ahead of time up front to even argue in front of a judge that you received a ticket unfairly. That is no good. And the state has upheld it up to this point, and like that to me doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, that's terrible, but kind of a separate issue, right? Because
either
you want
those two things go hand in hand. Like if the traffic enforcement cameras are aggressive in any way, or you feel like you were ticketed unfairly, then you need your day in court, right? You are owed that.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to get it, you have to pay for it. And that to me is, I don't know, that's unacceptable.
Well, police officers can also be zealous as well. But I get your point. But I don't know if you're aware of the degree to which traffic enforcement has dropped. Are you? I know of one town. I saw a screenshot at a somebody put up at a meeting, a town government meeting, that said in, I hope I remember the numbers, in 2013, 68 tickets per day were written in that town. And 10 years later, 8 tickets written a day in that town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even with whatever increase in population they got.
I know my little town is, I see speed traps less frequently than I used to. And the town actually lowered the speed limit in anywhere, any residential street in town is, I think it's 25. So simultaneously they lowered the speed limit all over town, and the enforcement went down too. Look, they're busy. Like, I don't know, maybe that, they've gotten enough feedback from people that like the enforcement is too high, and they've just decided like, yeah, we're just not going to do it at all. I don't know. There's got to be a happy medium there somewhere.
Okay. Well, that's a good place to stop. I appreciate it. I didn't plan on doing, keeping you this long. And I don't want to, when we do these, I don't want them to be a burden. So
no, I love doing it.
Even when it's 51 minutes, you're good?
Yeah, I love talking about this stuff.
Okay. Good. Quickly, Michael, I'll just, we don't need to comment on it unless you want. Michael Skeen comes to us from YouTube and says, maybe the state shouldn't be using traffic enforcement as a revenue generator.
They sort of don't, but
yeah. They sort of don't, right?
Right.
And AI, I was going to bring this up. Wait till AI gets really good, because, back to our scams, you'll actually have like, you'll think it's the governor, personally sending you stuff.
Right.
They'll be
You used to have to be caught, doing something, and now it's like, with plate readers and all that kind of stuff, it's like, oh, your inspection sticker, expired 3 days ago, or your registration sticker expired 3 days ago. We're just going to send you a ticket in the mail like that. I don't know if I buy that being a good thing or a good use of resources.
And Michael says, what about the proven bias AI has? Well, yeah, but we're not just a straight up camera on the street doesn't have a bias. Doesn't know who you are. Well, I suppose it could really quick read your plate and find out who you are and decide really quickly whether to give you a ticket or not. But that what happens when minority communities claim bias in the enforcement? Yeah, we already addressed that. My gosh, Michael Skane got active right away. The Secretary of Transportation claims there are racist highways. I don't know what that means. Right. Like maybe, does he mean that some highways were designed?
Certain areas are heavier than others simply because there are minorities living in the neighborhood or whatever, like any of that stuff is no good.
I was wondering if he thought that highways were designed by racists.
Oh,
I don't know.
Robert E. Lee Highway. I don't know if he was a racist, but regardless.
Okay. Well, that was fantastic. Everybody share it, like it, rub it, love it. What are the rate, do everything you can.
Rate, comment, whatever.
Yeah. All right. All the best till next time.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye. And